First of all, I share, and the government shares, the sense of outrage that there is about the findings of this report. And of course, it is the findings of a report not for the first time. It's part of a sequence now. Fearn's, Murphy report, and now the Cloyne report. What is involved here is a betrayal of trust, betrayal of the children, first of all, who were abused, who were not supported, who were ignored. It is a betrayal of the trust that Irish people and Irish society over a very long period of time placed in particular in the Catholic Church and its institutions in all of their dealings with children. And it is an issue that the government is determined to deal with very effectively indeed. And I'd like to take the opportunity at Count Corla of setting out the measures, including the legislative measures that the government intends to bring forward. The failure to report cases of child sexual abuse to the Gardaí is, of course, a central difficulty that has been identified in the report. And the state and the government, for its part, is determined to have legislation in place which ensures that such failure to cooperate in the future will have consequences. The Minister for Justice, Equality and Defence yesterday published the heads of the Criminal Justice Withholding Information on Crimes Against Children and Intellectually Disabled Persons Bill. Those heads can clearly be discussed at the appropriate committee which will deal with the issue of consultation, Deputy O'Keefe. That bill will make it an offence to withhold information relating to the commission of a serious offence against a person who is under the age of 18 or an intellectually disabled person. For some time, work has been underway in consultation between the Department of Justice and Equality and the Department of Children and Youth Affairs on the drafting the heads of a National Vetting Bureau bill which will provide a statutory basis for the vetting of applicants for employment and employees working with children. The legislation will provide for the establishment of a National Vetting Bureau for the collection and exchange of both hard and soft information for vetting purposes. This bill is being given priority, and the Minister for Justice, Equality and Defence expects to be able to bring heads to government for approval before the end of this month. He intends to refer these to the Oireachtas Justice Committee while work continues on the drafting of the legislation. The Minister for Children and Youth Affairs has received government approval to place the revised Children First national guidelines on a statutory basis. This will make compliance with the Children First national guidance a statutory obligation and will ensure greater protection of children by strengthening the existing system for reporting and responding to suspected child abuse. It is intended to place a statutory obligation on every organisation working with children to protect and safeguard those children when in their care, including statutory, private, community and voluntary organisations. The legislation will underpin the provisions in Children First. This includes a requirement to share relevant information and to cooperate with other services in the best interests of the child. The legislative requirements, therefore, extend beyond reporting of suspected abuse and entail a more broad-based approach to the safeguarding of children. Putting children first on a statutory basis has been sought for many years and is a recommendation of the implementation plan for the Ryan report. In progressing this legislation, the Government has agreed that a range of sanctions will be developed to address any failure to comply with the Children First provisions. The Minister for Children and Youth Affairs will later this week publish revised Children First guidance designed to strengthen current arrangements for child protection. It is important that every possible step is taken to ensure that there is full compliance with Children First. In addition to the proposals to make compliance a statutory obligation, the Minister for Children and Youth Affairs will be overseeing an implementation framework which will set out the responsibilities of each government department and sector working with children. It will include strong emphasis on inspection and the need to provide demonstrable evidence that the guidelines are being properly implemented across all sectors. In the case of the health sector, The Minister proposes to extend the remit of the Health Information and Quality Authority (HIQA) to include oversight of the HSE's child protection services, including the operation of Children First. HIQA will have standards in place by the end of the year, and inspections of the HSE's child protection services will begin early in 2012. The Minister for Children and Youth Affairs has requested the HSE's recently appointed National Director for Children and Family Services to write to HSE staff setting out the HSE's responsibilities in relation to child protection and compliance with the revised Children First guidance, including in relation to extrafamilial abuse. The strong legal advice to the Government is that Section 3 of the Childcare Act 1991 provides sufficient powers to the HSE in relation to its ability to investigate third-party or extrafamilial child sexual abuse. This position will be set out for staff by the National Director in order to ensure that there is no uncertainty on this matter within the HSE. In addition, the National Director has developed an associated child protection and welfare practice handbook to support the implementation of Children First. The two documents will provide clearer direction and support to frontline staff working with children. They will clearly set out the respective roles of the statutory agency responsible for child protection, including the HSE and the Gardaí, in relation to the handling of complaints of child sexual abuse, and are designed to achieve consistent practice across the state. Finally, in my own capacity as Minister for Foreign Affairs, I have already expressed concern about the findings in the report in relation to the Vatican, which of course, in addition to being a church authority, is also a state that enjoys diplomatic relations with this country, and I am meeting with the Papal Nuncio later today to communicate those concerns and views directly to him. There will be a debate in the House about the findings of the report on Cloyne. I understand that that is being discussed between the whips, and the latest information that I have is that it will be Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on availability of ministers and spokespersons and so on. And the Government is quite happy to have that agreed by the whips and to make whatever time is necessary available for it.